Alright, so this is what we're gonna build. It is a simple AJAX search and I guess save task list. So you could add a task, a new task, save it. See, it shows up below. We could delete tasks that we added before. Let's add 3 tasks. Task 1, task 2, task 3. Right, and then you can search for it. So you press the search button and then you can clear the search. Clear the search. Clear the search. Alright, so that's what we're gonna build. Alright, so you load up PHP Storm and we are gonna, well, I'm gonna create a template, and this is just to get started, and I'm just gonna create my file here. We're gonna call it, let's call it search.php, right? I'm just gonna copy this inside this. So this is actually gonna be my actual where I'm actually gonna display the view. So let's see, let's just put one thing to see how it looks. Hello world. Alright, let me test this on the server. Bad gateway. Why are we getting that error? Oh, so we just need to configure our PHP interpreter. So we just click apply. Okay, should be good to go. Hello world. Great. I'm just going to give it a simple title, AJAX insert and search task list example app. Alright, and we gonna add Jquery. So I have it here already, so I'm just gonna copy it in. So this should be a script, so we just add in Jquery from a CDN. You could always Google search for that, right? So the first thing we have is add an item. So let's just see how that looks. Add an item, great. Next, we're gonna put our first input. This is going to be where we're gonna enter the task. We're gonna give it an ID one time, call it task input. Type of it is text, and that's it. That should be it. We run that again, right? Maybe give it a placeholder. Let's make it look good with a placeholder. Enter task. Great. Now we're gonna add our button, button. We're gonna call it save. We're gonna give it an ID. Save task, right? And I guess we could stop there. Well, we need a list UL, and for example, list item 1. So this is actually our list that we're gonna this is our list of tasks. Alright, so when we press the button, we want to make sure that's working, right? So let's add our script below. Document ready function. Great. And we want to do our on click on the button. So we say save task on click. Function return false, and we say console.log save button clicked. Right, so let us try that. See what we get. Right click console, it shows up when it fails to. Boom. Right, so we know that's working. So next we just want to get the element, the task input. So we're going to name that, what are we going to name it? Can we name it task EL and task input, right? So we might use this multiple times, so you always have access to task EL wherever we need it. So now we can get a task by saying task is equal to task EL dot file. So that's getting the value from the element, and now save button is clicked. We have the task is, and we add task, right? So if we run that and we inspect, right? So buy a new phone, save task. The task is buy a new phone. Great. Right, so we load up MySQL and we're going to create a new task table. We're going to call this table my task, and we just need an ID as a primary key to auto increment, and this is just the task name. I'm going to give it a value of 65, and we're going to save that or apply that. Yes. So now in our tables we have my task. Ooh. We could ignore that. Right, so my task. So we're gonna say the first task is hello world task, and hello world task 2. I'm just going to apply that, and now we have access to 2 tasks, and we just need to set up our database connections, because what we're going to do is display this right away. Okay, so let's create something called server. So this is the server.php, right? And in our server.php, I have to load up the file. I'm obviously not doing this from the top of my head. Alright, so the first thing we need is our connection strings. So this is correct, this is correct, this is correct. And we just want to say, so we say, oh boy. Alright. So we create a connection. Yes, let's create a connection. That's correct. Let's try that. And now we say if get action is equal to get items. Alright, so we're going to call server from our client, and we're going to do some stuff here. So this is the data we will be returning. Now we're going to try something. We're going to say results is equal to connection, which we declared above, query select star, which is all from my task, semicolon, and for each result as results, each result, how are we doing this? For each result as result, right? What are we doing here? Also, it seems you have an error, right? We just need to catch any errors. Nope. Exception E. I guess we could echo the message, get message, right? Anyway, so we're gonna create a list. So li, that's the first thing. Then what we're gonna put inside the list is our result. Nope. Result. Name task. No, that's not the name. What's the name? The name is name. Right? So name is name. Then we're gonna close our list element. right? And that should be it. So once we finish with that, we're just going to echo data, right? So we should be good here. So on the client side, we can function get items, right? We're going to call the server. 1 second. So we're going to call the server. How are we doing this? Right, so we're going to use get server.php, and we're going to set the action to equal to get items, right? Because in server we have get action, so get action is get items. So get items. We don't need to pass in anything, we just return, and the data is what we echoed, right? Task. So we want the task element. So task list, we can see this is task. So I've accessed it globally, and now we're just going to say task list. We're going to empty it and then append the data that we get. So let's see if this works. Now remember, we have two tasks, hello world task 1 and hello world task 2. So let's see if we can get this to work. It's not working. Why isn't it working? Maybe because we did not call function get items. So get items, we're going to call this function unload, and now we're going to run it again. As you can see, hello world task 1, hello world, and hello world task. So if we were to add a next task, let's say hello world task 3, and we save this, and then we reloaded our page, you should see the showing up there. Also, we can now remove this dummy text, right? Because we're now loading from the database. So now we want to actually take any information here and save it to the database. So in order to do that, we because I know what's going to happen, I'm going to create a function one time, a function called save task, because we're going to need to call this function more than once. So right, so we're going to call a function called save task. We want to pass in the task that we're going to save, and then we're going to send a post request to server.php. The action this time should be save task, I guess, and we would pass in our data task, and then anything return response, right? And we adjust the suit. Great. So we need to do two things. When the button is clicked, we call the save task function, and we pass in the task, right? So we get the task from the element, from the text input, task input, and then we pass it to save task. Save task passes it to the server, which now needs another action. So we need to say get, can't make a noise in my head, save task, wrong action is equal to save task. Great. And then I don't think we need data there. We confirm. Right, so now all we're going to do is we're going to get the task. So we're going to say task if it exists in post, then we want it. Otherwise, just say that task is null. And if task exists, then what we're going to do is we're going to create a query called insert into my task, and just task. Nope, there should be name and values. We're going to put that placeholder, and now we're going to say query is equal to connection, which we created above. Prepare, we have the statement, and then this is wrong. Query execute, and we pass in the task. This should be a try though. Alright, so let's try this. Do you think it should be a try? Exception. I think I spelled this wrong before now. Exception, echo E. Get message. I'm pretty sure I spelled it wrong. Exception. Anyway, echo good. So if we get good, we know it was done successfully. So now on this, so this is completed. We can do console out whatever is returned. Alright, so we need to see this in action working. This is wrong. This should be right. Right. So let's test this out now. There's so many of these open. Alright, so my first task, save. I have no idea what happened, but I'm going to check the database. We get it as null, and now we're going to do some troubleshooting. So we're going to inspect, we're going to check out the network, we're going to run it again. Alright, so we might have made some spelling errors there, but we are passing in the correct information. So let's check out server, and if that's the problem, man, that sucks. What's going on here? What's the response? We don't have a response, but we still get a null. So post task, and I sent it as task. So we just need to put this as task. I don't understand why null is saved. That's weird. Let's just save it. Response is good. That means it was saved. We don't want these null values here. I thought I have an if statement preventing that from happening. So that's weird. Maybe at the time, because it wasn't really null. If task, let me just put. To me, the task should work, but it was not empty, right? Anyway, so as you can see, it was saved, and let's try it again. My first, second task, we press save, and we check to see that out. Great. And if we press save with nothing in it, it should not work. There we go. Fantastic. So let's reload the page, and you can see my first and my second task was loaded successfully. So a few things to note, right? When we enter a task, feed the dog, it still remains, right? And also the page doesn't refresh. So let's fix those two things. So in our search, when we save a task, we want to clear the task input. So task, yeah, we want to set the value as being that as once it's saved, and also we want to reload. So we want to call get items again. That will reload our page. So let's try that. So wash the car, we save it, it empties, it clears the text box, and it also refreshes the page, right? So we are halfway there. To relax, save. Great. Alright, so what we really want to do now that we have it basically working, is when you press enter, after you type in a task, you want it to save. So let's see how we're going to go about doing that. So to do that, basically what we need to do, and I'm pulling from my notes here, on the we need to set a listener on the element itself, on the task input. So we're going to do that task input, and the listener is on key press function, and then that's the event. Let's see if we're doing this correctly. Great. Now we're saying if e which is equal to 13, I believe that's tree equals, which 13 should identify as the enter button. Then we just get the task is equal to task el.file, and this is why we created a function, so we could just pass in, call the function and pass in the task, and then we return false. Alright, so if we do that, and now let's reload the page. Let's say cut the grass, and once we press enter, it should have saved and reloaded the page, right? So we have that good to go. Alright, so now we're going to add our search buttons. So that is 2 buttons. We're going to add a search and a clear button. So we just need a button called search, another one called clear, and let's just see how that looks. So we have search and now we have clear. And now we're just going to attach IDs to each. ID is equal to search and ID is equal to clear. Right? So let's attach our listeners now. So search on click function. Right. Return false. Alright, so what are we doing here? So on search, we get in the query. So this time we call in our, it's not a task, we call it a query, but we're taking it from the same task element, and now we gonna say get server.php action is equal to search items. We're gonna pass in the query as a query, and we're going to return data. Alright, now this is what we're going to do. I believe we have the task list. So the task list is we're going to empty it and append whatever we return in from our search. Great. So now let's go to the server. Let's say if get, let's copy this from on top, if get, and this time we're saying get items, and we want the query. So we did that before, so we're going to do the same thing as we did with tasks, except we're doing it with query. So query, I don't think it's a post this time though. I think it's a get. So let's just confirm that. Search. That's a get. So we remove the post. We're just gonna use get request. Right. And now what do? We say we have SQL. We're gonna add a search. So let me do this from scratch actually. Alright. Let's say DB, right? Let's call it DB. Connection prepare, and the statement is select star from my task where name like and we placeholder, right? So DB, we're gonna execute and we're gonna pass in using a while query the query, and we're gonna close it with the enclose it with percentage signs, right? And now we want our results is to be equal to the DB fetch all, right? We use a for loop. Let's get our data. We will be echoing for each results as result, and let's build our HTML. So data that equal to, and what we want. What do we want? This is just the task, right? Result. So name and data, we're gonna close it here, I believe. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, we're closing it here, and then we just echo the data when we finish, right? All of this should be enclosed within a try, or at least when we attempted to connect to the database. So we catch it and we echo the message, get message. Alright, and we're gonna copy all of this and put it there. Alright, so let's try out to see if we have any errors. We need to do clear. Well, we don't need to do clears yet. Alright, so let's reload the page. Right now we are searching for grass and we press search. We get nothing. Let's check what we sent. Search items. Query is grass. Action is search items. So it returned nothing. So we're doing something wrong, but I'm not sure what. Select start from my task where name like DB fetcher results. Are you seeing the error? Because I'm not seeing it. 1 second. So we didn't change our action because remember we copied it, right? So this should be search items. So this is probably the error. So far that was what seems to be wrong. So let's test it now. I'm gonna put back grass here and search. Got the grass. Great. So we know it's working. Let's try car. I think the words are much better. And we could try task. We probably get a few. Great. Alright, so to clear a search, we just need to add a listener to the clear button. So we have it named by ID or referenced by ID as clear. So on click, we have a function, and what were we saying? Well, first we're gonna empty the input, right? So we set the value to nothing, and then we just say get items, right? Because get items gets all the items. So that's how we're gonna clear it. So reload the page. We add task, we search, and then we clear. If you want to add a new task, clean your room. And we just press enter. Now we search for room, we press search, clear. Now in practice you won't obviously do this, right? This is very confusing. You might actually save something that you wanted to search or search something that you wanted to save. But for now we'll do it like this. So the next thing we're going to look at is to actually delete a task, and then that actually might be it. Alright, so in order to generate a delete button, we need to edit how the list is displayed. So we're going to do it first for when we get in all the items. So we're going to say unbreaking space, we're going to add an element, and we're going to call this, we're going to add this the HTML entity, I believe. So this is just an X, I believe, 215, and then we're just going to close this. So I'm just going to show you how this looks. So let's reload the page. Right, so you can see we have a delete, a little X there. Now we're just going to give this a href JavaScript void 0. That's 1. Next we're going to give it a class. The class is called remove task, and now we're going to put the give it a data. We're going to put the ID that we get from the database within this element, right? So let's just inspect this. You can see that we have the different IDs. So now we can access this in JavaScript, and that will allow us to information so that when we delete, we know what we deleted. So let's do that. So in search, we're gonna say, because the information changes, right, we need to bind it to the parent. So we're gonna say task on click, and then is it function? No, we're gonna say this is remove item, delete item. I can't remember remove task, right? So remove task is the class, and now we call our function that is actually going to do the deleting. So I'm not sure if this was a post request. Confirm with notes. It should be, but we could have been just lazy. Nope, it's a post request. All right, so what we're gonna do here, right, is we're gonna see, we're gonna get the current element, which is, we're gonna get the current ID. So we're gonna say attribute data.id. So that's the ID we passed or created. So if we have an ID, that's just in case, we're gonna post the request to our server.php, and the action is going to be remove task. We're going to pass in our ID, and then we want some data back. I guess we could do things with this at some point in time. Alright, and then we load task, or in my case, get items. Right. So now we need to create this. So in our server, we do something like this. Or it's more like a query, right? It's more like a query. Or save, more like this. Anyway, so we copy this. We make sure we change the correct information. Remove task. This is wrong. Even if it's wrong, that's not going to do it. So remove task. This should be an action, and we want to get the ID. We could call it task ID. And if task ID is not empty, the query is select delete from task, or delete from my task, where ID is equal to placeholder, and then we do our prepare, and then we echo good. So this is, the rest is fine. The rest is perfect. So let's just see if we can get this to work. So we're going to remove clean your room, and we see nothing happen. So let's see what went on there. Server, remove task, response, undefined variable task. No, Winton. That is incorrect. Great. Let's try that again. Clean your room. There we go. So it should no longer be in the database. We're gonna remove watch and move to relax. That's number 10. So removing that. Cut the grass should remain, watch and move we would go. Well, that's wrong. I must be seeing things. Yeah. Alright, that's better. Not too sure what's happening there. So cut the grass remain, watch the car remains. I have no idea. We delete one. There we go. Right. So now we can add task. and you can delete task. You could also add task by just pressing enter. You could search for a task, and you could clear the search. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty simple. You'll notice that when we put task, you see, that's the error. We were searching for task. So right now we can't delete, right? This is probably good. So you don't need to be able to delete things when you're searching for it. But what you could do is take this little row here, and we could say function row item, and then probably just pass in the information we need. So is it we return it, right? And pass in the ID if we need it. If that's the main thing we need, we pass it in. So then when we do this, so it's row item, right? Row item, and then we just pass in the ID. So that's simple. And then we could just do the same thing when we, and that's the simple way. We can actually just do one. So we can make this whole thing return. Maybe I should just show you. Alright, well, you get the hang of it. Right? So if we do that in the search items as well, and instead we could just make this one row item function display this whole thing. But for now we're going to do it like this, just to get a hang of it. So this should mean that when we search my first task, no, that's not working. So I think we're missing something. Row item. Oh, might have undo too much. Yeah. Right, so we just need to add that. Yeah, I think that's it. So let's run that again. Hello. Search. Right, so we can delete it here as well when we search, but it's up to you. That's one way to optimize it. So you could just make this one function display all the elements, and then you just send the information as required. Alright, so that's the end of this little demo. It's pretty straightforward. 2 files. I think it's very clean. You could do some optimizations, whereas you have to check if you got a good response, right? So you could do that. If you got an error, you could send errors, and then in client side you make the changes as necessary. But yeah, that's it. Straightforward and basic.